Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. I'm Nancy Alspaugh-Jackson.
And I'm Shannon Penrod.
Hi, Shannon.
Said that in a different octave than I'm used to hearing. We both, just so you guys know, just as we were coming back, Nancy just came in and Joanne left and Nancy just came in, and both Nancy and I were so stressed and like trying to figure out how to log into your school program and get them
every password and
just it's the beginning of school and it's nuts.
I feel like it's the beginning of school for me. I feel like it was my first day of school today.
And I gotta say that, it wasn't the first day of school for us today. We're already 2.5 weeks in, but we're still in the phase of, we're not in the automated phase yet. Like personally, I'm not, and the school's not, and the teachers aren't. We're almost there, but we're not quite there. And man, it's stressful.
It takes a while. It is very stressful.
And just the different traffic patterns. Yeah. And, we are leaving. We're having to drive really far to get Jem to the school that he's going to, and we're leaving really early.
What time do you have to wake up?
I'm waking up at 6, but I'm seeing that I need to get up at 5:30.
Right. How about him?
And so he's getting up. I was getting him up at 6:45, and now he has to get up at 6:30. Yeah. So, it's nutty. And the lunchbox thing seems like it changes every year a little bit, what he'll eat and how he'll do it. Right. I just don't have it together yet.
I know. Well, I started getting ready last night for Wyatt's first day today, and I just still feel like it's not together.
Well, and I kept thinking first day would come and then you kind of get over it. I'm not over it yet. We're 2.5 weeks in and I'm not over it yet.
Yeah, but I think it takes a while.
It just is what
Maybe
it is.
A month.
And I just want to, we talk about this all the time on Thursdays about, being in the moment and being mindful and meditation and stuff. And oh man, it's a good thing we've been talking about that on Thursday, you guys, because I've been having to use that on a minute by minute basis in the mornings for the last 2.5 weeks because I am so stressed. I said to my niece on the phone today, I said, I have to do something to stop this because I'm just a heart attack waiting to happen.
I know.
I'm in the heart attack years. It can't be this stressed. Yeah. And I'm yelling at this woman this morning who pulled, and so I couldn't get in, and I was, I got my hand up and I'm yelling, and I had to take a step back and go, you're trying to get your child to school, not to brain surgery. Right. Okay. Let's all take a moment.
Try to be present. Try to be in the moment here. Okay.
It gets ugly. Anyway, we're thrilled to be here with you guys. Yeah. Did you know, Nancy, that today, for the first time, we are not only live on our own page, and we are live on Facebook Live, and we're live on YouTube, but we're also live right now on Twitter. Oh. And we are live on Periscope.
I didn't know you could do all that.
Well, Samantha knows, and so Samantha did it. And yes, so we're welcoming our viewers on Twitter. If you guys want to write in, you absolutely can. We love hearing your comments. This whole show is meant to be interactive, and welcome. We're just a couple of crazy autism moms with you today with big guests. Yeah. We've got 2 fabulous guests that are going to be with us. We've got Milena Ramasa, but yes, Milena, I was going to say, I thought she changed her name, but that's neither here nor there. It's Milena Ramasa. Okay. And she's going to be here from Convade. We had her on the show back in December. They make incredible car seats, and they donated a car seat for somebody who needed a grant from Act Today. Yes. They are angels walking on this earth.
They really are.
We love Convade. And they've got a new product that's out that's not a car seat.
It's called the Scallop.
And I love it.
Good name for it, because that's what it looks like.
It's the cutest thing. And we're going to show you why it might be something that you might need for your little one. And we're going to have Kara Gwynn is going to be joining us via Skype a little bit later on. She's 24 years old, and she studies project design. And in her final year, this was her project. And I can't wait to talk to her about this and what it's going to do for kids who have different needs, especially for those of you who have a tough time having your little one sit for circle time, which is such a big deal in preschool and in kindergarten and in those first early classes, because a lot of learning happens in circle time, and a lot of the social stuff happens in circle time. But if our kids can't sit for it, forget it. Right. It's just not going to happen.
My kid couldn't sit for it.
So this scallop is... I've told you the stories about Jem and how Jem couldn't sit in circle time and would bite and claw and try to get out, and then they put him in the 5-point harness with a vest. This was not card, by the way. This was the first early intervention. And they put them in a vest and they put a weighted blanket. Oh my gosh, if I'd had a scallop. Okay, so, and we're going to have an opportunity for somebody to win a scallop.
Yes, for one of our viewers.
So we're going to be giving you information about that in just a few minutes. You're going to want to stick with us for that. But first, we want to talk about some in the news.
Yes.
So you want to talk a little bit about how our gut microbes talk to our brain?
Our gut microbes may talk to the brain through cortisol. So we've been hearing a lot about gut microbes and our microbial makeup and how they can influence behavior and possibly autism. So now they've discovered that, and I hope I get all these terms right, changes in neurometabolites during infancy can have a profound effect on brain development. And it's possible that microbiomes, the collection of bacteria, fungi, and viruses inhabiting our gut, plays a role in this process.
Yes. And if this sounds like, well, that's old news, because we've been talking about this forever, that your gut and your brain are connected. I love how years ago, when people would bring this up and people go, that's just crazy. And what you eat has nothing to do with what or how you think. And, and all you have to do is say to somebody, okay, then drink a beer.
Right.
And then let's talk about, is your brain functioning and seeing things in the same way? Come on. So the autism community has pretty much been on this page for a long time, but more and more research is getting it done showing why.
And they've done this studying month-old piglets.
Yes, that part bums me out.
Well,
but
they're very similar to human infants in terms of their gut and brain development.
And the reason why they're using the piglets is because they need to be able to look very closely in the intestines and see what's happening, and then look at the brains and see what's happening. And you really can't do that with babies.
Right.
Ethically, there is no way you can't do it. It bums me out that we have to do it with the piglets, because I'm all about, kindness to animals.
Right.
But if it's something, I have to say that if it's something that makes a huge difference in the autism community, then I have to support it. And one of the things that I found interesting about this study, and by the way, you can find this in medicalexpress.com, and also, how I got introduced to this study was that they're featuring it on Taka's Facebook page right now, because Taka and Lisa Ackerman was going, okay, here's just another way that we see this. But we hear all the time about cortisol.
Yes.
And when we have stress,
how our cortisol levels rise.
And that it can cause long-term damage to other internal organs and things. And so now the fact that they're being able to look at the biome, that's the new word, right? And looking at how cortisol attaches to that. What I thought was interesting, the two words that came up was that they found bacteroids and Clostridium. And if you have heard that term here before, I want to remind you that you have an opportunity. You can go and look at the study that CARD is doing. We had two scientists who were here from England on the show. We did a special edition, just put in poop study on our website, and watch what they say about Clostridium. This CARD has a huge study that's going on right now. I call it the poop study. They call it the metabolite study, which is a much prettier way of saying it, but they're looking at hundreds of poop samples from CARD kids and people outside of CARD. But because they needed 3 different sets of samples, kids who are on the spectrum, their poop, kids who are their siblings, but aren't on the spectrum, and then kids who are not their siblings who are neurotypical. And they're comparing all of them, and they've already, even in the preliminary study, been able to isolate, and all part of what's different in the poop samples is this Clostridium. So this is a linchpin. This is coming up all over the place, and there's going to be more studies about this. But this is really exciting, and I encourage you. I don't think they're taking poop right now, but if they check out our clip, it's a lengthy one where they talk about what it is that they're trying to find out. They're really phenotyping autism, and they're seeing that Clostridium has a huge effect in what's happening in your gut. So interesting.
Another story on the science side: people with autism spectrum disorder show neural responses of anxiety on seeing social touch. So even when they see social touch, they report unpleasant feelings by comparison to people with weak signs of autism spectrum disorder.
And I found this particularly interesting in light of, and this is in Science News, you guys can check this out right now in Science News. I found it really interesting, especially looking at all of the things that have been out in the last week about The Good Doctor and Atypical.
Right.
And people saying it's very interesting that people who are not on the spectrum really loved it, and a couple of people who are on the spectrum really had a hard time with it. And I'm wondering if it comes down to this, because there are a lot of things, especially in Atypical, that were about touching and being touched. And you have people who are not on the spectrum who are touching, and then you have somebody who's on the spectrum trying to be touched by somebody who isn't, and it doesn't go well, and everyone was uncomfortable.
Right.
But I know in talking with an adult that teaches at UCLA that I respect, who's on the spectrum, and he said, "Man, I was so uncomfortable. I was so uncomfortable," and maybe that's part of why they didn't enjoy it as much as we did, right?
Proposition.
I mean, and then it brings up all these other things for us about when we're making things that are entertaining for people who are on the autism spectrum. Maybe we need to take that into consideration, and then you really have to think who your audience is. So, but fascinating, and that's from University of Haifa. To if you want to read more about that,
published in the journal Autism Research.
Yeah. And it's just out yesterday, day before yesterday. In any case, I wanted to take a second there's a lot in the news this week, and has been in the last week, about Spark.
Spark, which is a study.
Yes, that's being done by the Simons Group. And we actually had one of their lead investigators on the show before, and of course I cannot think what her last name is, but Dr. Wendy, I'll find it somewhere on here. She's been on our show before, and we've asked again for somebody to come on and talk specifically with us about Spark, but they are partnering with a bunch of different facilities all over the country, and this is a swab that you can do, and it's free for you to participate in, and you can, if you decide that you don't want to participate in it later on, you can opt out of it. But they're really encouraging autism families. They're saying you can, at any age, they want to get swabs on a huge segment of our population.
Right, and there are reasons why you should participate in this. Joining it will provide participants with access to experts through webinars and other online channels, so they can hear about the latest research in autism. So that's a very good one. It'll provide support to participants by presenting tips and information about autism and how to approach challenges in a new and helpful way. Give you access to the latest research updates that will arm you with information that could address daily challenges. And then, in appreciation of participation in Spark, the individual will get a $50 gift card once you've returned the samples.
There you go. And again, as I started to say before, this is the Simons Foundation, but it's the Simons Foundation Autism Research Initiative. I want to make sure that I say that, the whole thing. And it's called Spark, and it is considered the largest study ever having to do with autism. I think it's a really worthwhile thing to do. If you want to participate, all you have to do is Google Spark Autism, and there is a tremendous website that will give you all the information about it, about how you do the swab, why it's a swab, what the whole thing is. But I can't encourage you enough to participate. We all need to participate. And hopefully we'll have somebody from the Simons Foundation on the show soon to talk more about it.
Okay.
And then we always like to end on some good news.
Good story, yes.
I love this. More and more we're seeing these kinds of stories where somebody who's on the autism spectrum feels a little bit sidelined, on the sidelines. And there's been a big push in the last couple of days on Facebook for people to remind like everybody to put on their Facebook, I was going to do it yesterday, didn't get around to it, that as school starts, to remind all of our neurotypical friends to tell their kids to be kind to everyone.
Yeah.
And I have to say, even, Jem, we were having a conversation yesterday because I was so worried as he started school. It's a new school. He doesn't know anybody. Nobody knows anybody. I know that, to be bully proof, you got to have a pack.
Right.
And so I was like, here's how you're going to get your pack. And it's funny, when we were at the theater on Sunday, Spencer Hart was there and was talking about starting school. And Jen was like, now look, this is how you got to find your friends. And I loved that he was sharing that. But he has his pack.
Right.
We're at the beginning of school. He has his pack, people that he sits with, and I ask him every day, who'd you have nutrition with? Who did you have lunch with? He's like, the guys. And then I realized, oh my gosh, I haven't done the flip and said, have you scanned to see if anybody is sitting alone?
Right.
That we all need to be teaching our kids this. So we're seeing more and more stories where a community rallies around a kid and says, we're going to make this different for you.
And there's, in this particular case, a young Florida teenager. He would have been celebrating his 13th birthday alone, but his community showed up to support him.
Yeah.
He had been the victim of the bullying.
Yeah. And last year, his birthday had been really horrible, but the entire community showed up. They did, there was an organization called Crowd Fun It, which is volunteers. We want to give them a shout out because they put the celebration together so that the entire community, they had members of the military, a motorcycle brigade, an army of Star Wars stormtroopers,
Chewbacca,
Ghostbusters, really amazing. We want to congratulate the community on getting that done and making this young man feel special and included, because everybody needs to feel that at some point. And, if anybody's like, well, my kid doesn't, well then, if you feel like you've been left out, put out the cry and put the shout out in the dark. People are listening. We really love it. Really appreciate that. And we want to say happy birthday to him. All right, let's take a break. And then I think that we're going to be able to bring our guests in. We're going to talk about this new Conveyed scallop.
The scallop.
Milena Ramisa. I had it before, and now I'm going to mess it all up.
Okay.
But we'll get her to pronounce it. Ramasa. And she's from Conveyed. What an amazing company.
I know, and we're indebted to them for helping Act Today with the brand.
And for making the seats that make it safe for our kids to travel through their life, and truly, truly an amazing company and a new product that's really going to make a difference. Can't wait to talk about that. Stick with us. Back.
Hi, I'm Kara Kaczynski, the Pocket Occupational Therapist, and we're here in Dallas, Texas at the Future Horizons Autism Super Conference. So the book is the Special Needs School Survival Guide, and it's everything you wanted to know about school. It is, so it starts out with just different diagnoses that you might see, and then I explain them in clear terms, no technical jargon, and then each little diagnosis area has about, 50 to 100 activities that you can do at home or at school or cheaply and effectively. So it's just full of information that you can use right now. And the cool thing about it is at the end of every chapter are resources that you can use and access in the internet from a computer. And it's not just for kids with any diagnoses either. It's for kids that are just having trouble with handwriting or with dressing in school or transitions too. Well, both of my kids are on the autism spectrum, so it's important to me that when I learn something for other people, as I research it for occupational therapy, I want to try it at home. So then I take what works and I put it in a book, and what doesn't work, it's thrown out the window. And the other thing is I've just started to research for webinars because our kids, if our kids are aging, so they start out these cute little babies with autism and now they're getting to be teenagers and young adults, and we need help with modifying the environment for them, transition planning, and especially for IEP goal writing for functional things that they can work on, not just handwriting, but then going beyond into the transition to young adulthood. Yeah, the misnomer at this point in the school systems is that we just do handwriting. So we are actually not handwriting teachers. We can modify or help rectify a grip that's inefficient. So if a child doesn't have that nice, pretty little tripod grasp, we can help to get that. However, when the kid's in 2nd or 3rd grade, then we look at efficiency. So if the grasp is efficient, if it's a quadrupod grasp, or if it's some kind of funky grasp, and the child can write efficiently, then we leave it alone. But if not, then we go to electronic accommodations. So OTs then can look at keyboarding and what kinds of keyboards would fit the student best. Also sensory processing, as the kids get older, it looks different. So we can look at sensory processing as it relates to function in the school. And then we also can look at behavior and transition planning. Other things we can do is work on seating. So if the child's having trouble sitting still in the classroom, we can modify that too. So not just handwriting, not just sensory, but we look at behavior, transitions, so anything that affects that student's school day. Right, so that's a really good question, because sensory processing disorder did not make it into the last DSM, which is the way that medical professionals classify disorders. So it did make it into the classification under autism, but sensory processing disorder is very confusing, and a lot of therapists treat it differently. So the general overview is that sensory processing is either a heightened response to stimuli in the environment or a too low, which is hypo, response. So if the student perceives every noise around them is equally as important, or every feeling, so I'm sitting here, I can feel the chair, my sweater, the noise around me, then it's hard to concentrate and focus in the classroom on what you're supposed to be paying attention to. So we would use something, maybe a suggestion could be a weighted lap pad or some kind of fidget tool for the student to fidget with, or we can even look at special positioning in the classroom, so preferred seating. Then, with sensory, transitions can be hard because any unexpected bump in the classroom or in line can set the child off into a fight or flight, which is when they really have a tantrum and freak out. So when they're in a fight or flight mode, they may fly off the handle for no apparent reason, maybe just being bumped by another student. So it's our job to be detectives and to figure out why the student is having that meltdown. So my CDs were created for my own kids my son in kindergarten didn't like the fire drills. So he was afraid to even step foot into the classroom because the fire alarm may sound. Of course, the school's not going to say, oh, let's just set off the fire alarm for your son, Bob. So we thought, where can we get a fire alarm? So we went into a recording studio and picked a whole plethora of sounds that you couldn't control, fireworks, thunder, sirens, and we put them on a CD, and I wrote nursery rhymes, changing the words to blender, blender, it's okay, or different little Mary Had a Little Lamb is something to do with thunder. So they're kind of fun, and that way the student can control the volume of the sound. It's not a listening therapy, there's no headphones involved. It's just a fun way to control sounds that you normally couldn't control. So they're for sale at my website, thepocketot.com.
Autism. What is autism?
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 I've been asking myself that for a very, very long time.
Let me think about that one.
Trying to,
Jeez. Let me think. Oh man, that's a rough one. Yes.
Autism,
Autism is a neurological disorder that affects many of our kids in different ways.
It's a learning disability that affects the cognitive functions of the brain.
A lot of people have the misconception that it's a disability, and it's really not.
I look at it as like a special gift.
When one person thinks differently from another.
It's an opportunity for everyone to learn to understand someone that's a little different than them.
Autism is the ability to educate.
They're given so much talent in different areas.
To me, autism means a chance to be with and be around people you really care about. Autism is beautiful.
It's a way of seeing the world differently.
It's always unique, totally intelligent, and sometimes mysterious.
happiness that comes out of my son's hard work.
It's a movement.
Unpredictable.
That's right.
Awesome. Love.
The field I want to work in.
Laughter, fun,
joy. Autism is beautiful to me.
I want you to remember these 3 words. There is hope.
We are back with Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy, and now we are joined in the studio by Melina Ramasa. Hello, Melina.
Did we get it right?
You got it right.
Is that right?
Awesome.
Okay. And you're the Marketing Communications Manager for Conveyed R82.
Correct.
And you had digital content strategy and production, media relations, community outreach, and the company's planned giving program. So,
which means you're in charge of fabulous. Let's just say
let's
that.
face it.
I have the best job in the world. I get to make people happy. I get to empower mobility by matching communities with product, and it's a really awesome job.
And you do an amazing job. Let's say that. You're an amazing person, and we got to know you last December when there was I'm going to get emotional because it was like such a big story.
A family.
A mom wrote in a letter and said, and for anybody who's a mom who's ever needed something for your child that you couldn't make happen on your own and you have to reach out to somebody else, she wrote to Act Today and said to you, Nancy, I need this car seat for my child.
Because her child was endangered. I mean, she couldn't literally go anywhere.
And when we called you, you said, stop. Like, I remember reading the letter from the mom to you, and you were like, just
had me
stop.
in tears. I couldn't listen
We were
anymore.
all in tears, and you said, stop, we're giving you the car seat.
Right.
And we weren't, can I just be honest, we weren't even asking for the car seat. We were asking for a discount or help towards it, and you said, nope, we're giving you the car seat. And it was amazing. And then you guys did that and more, and that mom has said over and over and over again that you opened up her life and made it possible for her and her family to go places. And that was you, that was Conveyed, and now I understand that there's this other component to it that I didn't even know then. The what's the number?
R82.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Well, at the end of 2015, ETAC acquired Conveyed, and the melding between Conveyed and R82 is such a natural fit. We're both in pediatric mobility, but R82 has a product that's for seating, for walking, gait trainers, hygiene, daily living. It's a phenomenal product line, and it was totally complementary to the pediatric wheelchairs that Conveyed manufactures. So, we have kind of a big ambition. We're really wanting to own the pediatric space in North America, and just grow naturally by doing what we do, basically reaching out to the community like we have to you, and getting as many community members aware of our product and framing it so the families living in the spectrum understand what products we have and how they can enhance living on a daily basis through use of the Conveyed and the R82 products.
Well, let's talk about where people can find more information. Where can we send them to so that they can find out more?
Right now we have 2 websites. One is www.conveyed.com, and the other one is R82, www.r82.com.
Okay, and I do want to mention that the car seat that you gave that mom was called the Carrot. If you guys have an individual who's got special needs and requires a little bit more of a car seat, and they're growing and you're growing out of their car seats, you've got to check out the Carrot because it's amazing. But check out the full line of things that you guys have, which leads me to this fabulous thing that I'm holding here in my hands. We promised them that we were going to talk a little bit about the scallop.
Yes.
And that's what this is. So do you want to talk a little bit about this? Because I think it's just as cute as it can be. But for people who haven't seen it before, talk about what it
does.
Or do we want to wait and do that with Kara?
Kara can give you the product details. She is a young woman from Wales who invented, who was the creator of this amazing thing. It's such a simple solution that meets so many needs. It's portable. I mean, I have another one that is a little bit larger. It folds into a tote. So what you see here is a tote bag. So basically, if you're going to the beach or to the park or anything, you can put all of your stuff in here, right?
And
then walk around like this. And then when you want to sit down, you just open it up. It velcros together and has a little bit of padding. It comes in multiple colors. The colors are reversible. And it gives just that little nudge of support to those who need a little support, or
Yeah.
to the typical population. I mean,
Right.
You know.
Yeah, you don't have to be atypical to be able to.
No,
to
not at
work
all.
with
Not at all.
this.
You can see in Europe, it's been around in Europe for a little bit longer than it has here in North America. You can see like families of people going to, let's say, concerts in the park, and you know, like the bigger scallops are for the parents, and the smaller scallops are for the kids. It's a really cool product.
But when we were talking about this before, that any of you have little ones that have a hard time sitting in circle time,
which who doesn't?
Right. You know, I think all kids, when they first start out going to preschool and things,
Right.
circle time is a really difficult time to be in. And there are lots of different applications for this scallop, but I want to say, first of all, for our community, if your kiddo can't sit in circle time and do that and feel like they are safe, they will find other things to do. They will start touching the person next to them. They will crawl
Start
away.
running
In
around
my
the room.
case, my son would bite to get out of the room and do all these different things. This is a non-stigmatizing, really fun, really cool, padded, comfortable way for a kiddo to be able to sit up properly, engage, you know, so that we're working towards that core strength, and be able to be free to take in other information.
Right.
And that's really what we're talking about. Is this is an amazing tool. So it's called a scallop. We're going to take a break in just a second, and
We
we're going
wanna
to be
bring back the
joined
designer.
the designer of this amazing product, because it's so cool the way this goes together. It's so much fun. It reminds me of a toy that I gave to my nieces once that was called a Snap-a-Zoo, and you could put it together and make different animals. It's clever, you guys. So we're going to be talking with Kira Gwynn. And I also want to say, though, that you guys have been so generous that they've given us the ability to give away a scallop from Autism Live. But what that's going to entail is that you need to email us. And you want to email us at info@autism. No, I got it wrong. What is it, Samantha? She's going to tell you.
autismlive@gmail.
That's what it is. We're going back and forth between the two of them. So autismlive@gmail.com. That's the one that you want to go to. Say, I want a scallop. You need to give us your mailing address so that it can be mailed to you. And you've got 1 week from today.
And what about sizing?
Oh, well, let's talk a little bit about
Sure.
that. Should they say which size they would need?
You know what? They don't have to specify that now. It comes in 4 sizes, and basically it works for kids from 33 pounds up to 154 pounds. So it's a wide range.
That is a huge range.
So you'll email us autismlive@gmail.com, and you'll say, I want the scallop, and then you have to give us your mailing address, and we're going to pick one person to be able to get the scallop, and then we're going to pick at random, so it won't matter, you know, what else you say, although you can write us a beautiful letter if you want to, but we're going to pick at random, and then you've also given us some growth charts to give away. So if you don't win the scallop, you might win this fabulous growth chart.
You still get a scallop. In fact, you get more scallops. You get 6 scallops if
you go. But not ones you can sit in.
No, but ones you can
but it's super cool and really well made and lovely. So we've got those. But you've got to write in. You've only got a week, because a week from today we will pick at random.
And the address again is?
autismlive@gmail.com. It's on the screen for you right now. autismlive@gmail.com. So fabulous. But we're going to take a short break and come back with the designer of
Kira
these
Gwynn.
Fabulous scallops. Stick with us.
Being part of this community is really important to a mom with a son like Jackson, because it really does take a village, and you need so much support, you know, to help bring out all of the amazing qualities and skills and talents that our children have. So I'm just very grateful to everybody who was a part of this.
I think it helps with all sorts of that self-esteem, social skills. They seem to communicate a little bit with each other, and they had a lot of friends. The helpers were phenomenal, and I think the social skills for sure, because they worked together and they did a couple of group things across the floor, and they sang songs together, and I yeah, for sure, I think it's a really huge deal. A great program.
What programs like this show is the person is in front of what we call today a disorder. I think what we're finding is that these sorts of brain challenges that make people unique can actually be gifts in ways we haven't discovered in the rest of society to bring them out. So when you see a program like this and you see the kids dancing, having fun, and making up jokes, making up the story. I was here when they did that. That was so amazing to watch because they were all focused, they were all present, they were all laughing, they were all getting into the creation of this story. And that to me sort of broke the barrier to say, no, first we're dealing with people and then we're dealing with the challenges.
And we are back now. We've been joined in the studio by Melina Ramasa, who's the Marketing Communications Manager for Convade and R82. And we are now joined via Skype with Kira Gwynn. Kira is 24 years old, originally from Wales. She studied product design in university, and in her final year designed what is now called the Scallop. So welcome to the show, Kira.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Well, this is, I have to say, what a brilliant design for somebody, and you're so young, and it's just really an amazing thing you've done here. Tell
Clever.
us, very
So
clever.
clever.
Tell us the story behind it, how and why it was designed.
Okay, well, it all started with a little boy. I was volunteering at a museum building some robots with children out of scrap material. It was an open event, so for all kinds of children, anybody that wanted to join. And this little boy came in with his mother and his carer, and this little boy, Adam, had special needs. And I noticed that he was having trouble sitting on the chairs that were provided. He had his mum to one side and his carer to the other, and Adam kept sort of flopping, if you like, flopping to either side, slipping down in the chair, so mum or the carer kept propping him back up. And I noticed that, they couldn't leave Adam to go and get some other equipment, some other materials. So I went over and lent a hand, brought over some more materials, and we got chatting. And at first, I asked her if she wanted me to go and see if we had a wheelchair available in the museum. And she explained no, that Adam actually has a wheelchair, working chair at home, but she likes to get him out, and has the ability to walk if he has both hands held, and she likes to get him moving. And also with the wheelchairs, the tables that we had in the workshop for children were at a lower level, which would mean if Adam was in his wheelchair, he would have been at a higher level than all the other children involved. So she really wanted to keep him in that chair. And as the workshop got going and we continued chatting, and I learned that she hadn't found actually a product that she could take with her for Adam, something that was portable and light enough for her to carry, but something that also didn't limit his freedom. She wanted something that she could attach to a chair for Adam to give him a sense of security and to provide him with the support that he needed, but also not to limit his movement. So she wanted him to be able to reach and move and grab and play. And it struck me that at the time I was in my last year of university and I needed a project to work on, and a light bulb went off in my head, and I thought this could be a really great project to work with. So I asked her for her contact details, and I said to her that I'd like to go home and do some of my own research. And if this project was something that I thought was really viable to do, if I could contact her and ask any questions I had, and she was more than happy to help. So I went back and I did my own research, and I was surprised to find the more I dug into these products for children with special needs, I discovered that there was a bit of a gap in the market at the time where the products were missing for these children with mild to moderate disabilities. We sort of had this section where there was all very high-tech equipment that had a lot of accessories, were very expensive, and sort of at the higher end of the spectrum. But down the lower end, that seemed to be that gap missing, and especially around portability and keeping the products lightweight, being able for parents to really take them with them everywhere they go. And so I wrote to Adam's mother and asked if I could come and do some observations with her and her child. And she was more than happy to get involved. And we met, and I did some observations with Adam, and we went out and questionnaires and interviews. And then in university, a lot of sketch models later, so I made hundreds of card models and plastic cutouts. And I went back and forth between myself and Adam's mum testing and trying this product, until eventually I came to a shape that I thought was appropriate and well. And at that point I went further into my research, asking to get into schools and institutions where I was able to really widen my research and knowledge with therapists and parents and children and teachers in those special needs schools, and to really discover what it was that these parents and therapists and institutions all really wanted from a product.
Mm-hmm.
And well, I was surprised to find that I had four main goals that I really wanted to focus on, which was simplicity,
mm-hmm.
portability, versatility, and to keep it aesthetically pleasing, so to keep this product attractive. A lot of these children who I worked with, they were very verbal and very self-aware, and they didn't want to get into these seats that had a lot of straps, had a lot of harnesses, and sort of rung, I guess, alarm bells, if you like. And parents wanted something that was less severe and didn't scream special needs, if you like.
Yes. Tell us some of the stories and examples of families that have been using it.
Yeah, so I can take Adam, just so when I finally got to the point where I created the scallop shape and the form, I made a prototype, and we went to test it in a local cafe, and myself, Adam, and Adam's mum. And one of the main things I really wanted to focus on was the simplicity of this product. I demonstrated to Adam's mum how to use the scallop once. She took it with her. I shut up and held the video camera, and she put it together, strapped it on a chair. She took Adam out from his wheelchair, placed Adam in, strapped him up, and she then sat at the opposite end of the table and they ate a meal together. And this was really a huge emotional moment for Adam's mum, because normally she would have to sit next to Adam. If she wasn't with her carer, Adam's carer as well, she would have to wait for Adam to finish eating, and then she could eat herself. And at this moment, they both ate together, and Adam was safe and secure while sat in the scallop.
So a huge breakthrough for them. Tell us how it helps children with autism.
Yes, so our field tests have shown that children with autism feel more calm and relaxed while sat in the scallop. We, early on in the development of the scallop, we tested it in several institutions, and one in particular, one school for special needs children. There was a little boy with autism. He was 4 years old, and he tried the scallop out in a school environment. And without the scallop, what the teachers expressed first was that this little particular boy had trouble sitting still in circle time and also on the desks to concentrate on his work. He would often get up and run around, and the teacher would have to get him back into the chair. And also transition periods from one classroom to another, he found quite difficult. He particularly didn't like change. And so we tried the scallop for a 2-week period. And the results afterwards, when I got back from the teacher, were that they didn't want to give the scallop back. I felt so bad for taking it, but unfortunately it was a prototype. And the teacher expressed that this little boy, even though he could sit perfectly fine on a normal, typical chair, they strap the scallop on, and the way the scallop works is when you lean back, the sides really tuck around you, that provide this sort of hug-like, secure feeling. And this child, autistic children typically like the sense of security that we found, and that's what the scallop really provided. And also what was surprising, the transition period from one classroom to another in the school, the teacher said that this became 100 times more easy because the child actually felt an ownership of this product. He was able to unstrap it himself, take it like a little bag, as Milena demonstrated on the show. Little tote bag, he took it to his next classroom, he strapped it back on, and he sat comfortably in his chair. And also, of course, circle time, which is very important for young children. And this, what we found is the way you sit in the scallop on the floor, your instant reaction is to rock in it. It's very difficult to tip from side to side. You really can't do it. But you have this freedom of movement with the plastic shell that allows you to give this sort of bouncing, rocking-like feeling. And what we found is that children really, really like that sensation. One particular test we did in Denmark went with an occupational therapist from R82. We went to a special needs school and tried the scallop out with 4 children with autism. And we brought them in and we had all the different sizes laid out on the floor, and instantly the children ran and jumped in them. And the first thing they do is they try to tip it backwards, so they start having fun in it for a while, and it is quite fun to rock in it as well. But what we found was that when they had an assembly, so the children came to sit on the floor in a hall where the headmistress comes in and reads a story, or they tell about the day. And each group of children, each class, of course, has their teacher and a couple of helpers that sit with the children, and they tend to say that it's quite a difficult time to get the children to sit for long periods of time. And what they found was these children, they picked up the scallops, they took them to the assembly with them, put them on the floor, they sat there. And you could see, I was sat on the floor with the children during the assembly, and you could see all the teachers nudging each other and saying, gosh, look. And they were surprised that these children who tended to normally would get on their knees and flop into the W position, or the slouching frog, which is not good for their hamstrings, their hips, or their knees. And that's normally the way that these children would sit, and the teachers would come around and pull their legs out straight and try and get them to sit still. And in the scallop, they sat nice, long seated position with their legs out straight, and they concentrated more. They found that their concentration levels increased because their movements weren't restricted, and they had this slight bounce that they were able to move, but they still had this feeling of secureness, and yeah, it really worked well.
Okay, well, let's talk about how our viewers can buy the scallop. Do we have a website or a number?
Yes, absolutely we do. The website is www.also4me.com. And that's our global website. But for anyone in North America who wants to buy one, just dial 844-US Mobility. Easy to remember, easy to dial.
And it does come in different sizes.
Yes, 4 sizes, and the fabric is reversible. So if you get a blue, you're also getting a red. It reverses. It's quite cute. And this one you can see here. This one comes in gray and green.
Right.
So these are your color choices.
And tell us again about the giveaway, Shannon.
Yes, so if you want to win one, what you need to do is write to autism-live@gmail.com, say, I want the scallop, and then you need to give us your mailing address, because eventually whoever is chosen, it will be mailed to them. And thank you so much. It's so gracious of Convey to have one of our viewers is going to win one of these. For those of you who won't win, because we're going to pick by random selection, but that we have growth charts that you can have that are scallop growth charts that you can have and put on your wall. I love to measure our kids, and I have to say we moved a couple of years ago. We stopped measuring, and it's such a fun thing to be able to do for the kids to be able to see how tall they're getting. So they're beautiful, but somebody's going to win a scallop. These are amazing. I can foresee a time when in the future everybody in a kindergarten class is going to have a scallop. I mean, like, that needs to happen.
That is the vision. That is the vision. And we're finding, like, at different centers that deal with kids on the spectrum, that they're just trying them out, and the response has been overwhelmingly positive. The Shea Center, Equestrian Center has a few of them. They can't get enough of them. They really are having great success in keeping kids focused, and the kids are loving it. The moms are too.
And again, it does not have to be used by somebody who is on the spectrum or has physical. I mean, this is, as you said, people can take these and sit on them at a concert, anything where you want a little bit more support. And they're super cool. I wondered if one of you could show us, because I love the way things go together. Can one of you take one of them apart? Do you want to do it, Milena, or do you want Kira to do it?
Well, Kira's the expert, but Kira, do you want to show them, or I can?
If you're going to do it, you should do it with this one, because the green on our green screen is buzzing out.
You know what? She has a great video.
We do.
She has a great video.
Do we have time to show the video?
Yeah. Samantha, let's show the video. Here we go. And there we go. We had actually Kira demonstrating in the video. Thank you, Kira.
It's okay.
And you see the brilliance of this design. And once again, we want to say we are giving this away. So if you want to, you can write into us.
autism-live@gmail.com. You have a week in which to do this. We're going to take a bunch of submissions, because we know not everybody can watch live. So write into us and say, I want the scallop, and then you have to give us your mailing address, and then we will select a winner at random. And but we do need to have your mailing address. We want to thank Kira for being with us. We want to thank you
Milena
for being with us. We want to thank Convade. We want to thank Convade and R82, R82, because you guys are an amazing company doing amazing
coming
things.
up with wonderful designs to help our population assimilate more readily.
Thank you, and more to come. We'll be talking about a child restraint system that's coming out next month. That is also designed and manufactured in Europe. It's an R82 product, but we'll save that for next time.
Okay,
fabulous.
So for next time. Thank you,
and I also want to say one more time the phone number, if you are interested in buying a scallop, 844 US
Mobility.
US Mobility.